Hello beautiful people, it's Robyn Thomas here with Resemble Me by Robyn. Welcome back to my channel. So on today, first off, excuse me, because I know I sound really stuffy. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning, but I wanted to get this voiceover done so that I can upload this video this evening. This is a client of mine who has been coming to me for a while, and our schedules kind of got off a little bit because I changed my schedule close to the end of me stopping braiding. So I hadn't seen her in a few months. So within those few months, she's had a silk press, which you'll see she has a little bit of heat damage in the front of her hair, but a silk press, and she got some braids. Her mom got her some braids by someone else that she kept in for a while. I asked her, but she couldn't remember. You know, kids, they don't be paying attention. And so today what we're doing is, or today what I'm going to be talking about is the importance of taking a break in between your protective styles and the importance of being able to care for your hair in its natural state. So yes, protective styles are wonderful because you don't have a lot of maintenance. You don't have to worry about, constantly washing and detangling your hair. Like, it's so many perks to it. It's so convenient. It's quick that sometimes we get very caught up in being lazy. So first off, if you know from my videos, I never encourage laziness with protective styles. I feel that you should treat your protective styles the exact way that you treat your natural hair, so that you get the ultimate what word, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but so that you get what you want, right? So you want to retain length, you want your hair to stay moisturized, you want to have the best experience for your hair so that it isn't shocked. When we don't pay attention to our hair and protective styles, sometimes it becomes shocked, at the fact that, oh, so you just gonna stop watering me? Like, so you just not gonna wash me because I got these braids in my head? So I always encourage that, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about why you should, and the importance of taking those breaks in between styles, okay? So we're gonna get into that. The first thing I'm doing, which is what you want to do, and I'm just gonna go through the correct way to have your wash day after a protective style, because she did just come out of some braids. So we're going to go over the correct way to take care of your hair and why, the steps to take and why it's so important to take those steps, okay? So first things first, you want to make sure that your hair is as detangled as possible. Okay, a lot of the times people take out their braids, they take, do a little wide tooth comb detangling, and they see the hair that's come out, they like, I'm good. But then they notice that their actual detangling session after washing their hair is still a very long process. A lot of hair still comes out and all of that. So I like to say detangle your hair prior to going to wash it. One of the reasons why I am such an advocate on moisturizing your hair when you have your protective style in is because it is going to help this part of the process, right? If your hair has been moisturized the whole time, you're not going to experience a lot of breakage. People tend to slop on a lot of conditioner, and sometimes we need it. I'm not going to act like we don't need it, but sometimes people like to slop on a lot of conditioner. Like right now, I'm using the Roots takedown oil because she had some like little matted areas that I wanted to open up, and her hair is not as moisturized as I would like it to be, for her coming out of a protective style. But people like to add all of those things, but what happens is when you add those things when detangling your hair, you start to fight your hair. And the reason why you start to fight it is because if your hair is a kinky texture, if it's natural, as soon as you wet it, it's going to start to shrink. The shrinkage process is going to start. So not only are you trying to detangle the shed hair that was in your braids, now you have your hair shrinking, which is starting to curl up and intertwine in between all of those braids. So that is like, you don't want to, it just makes it easier for you. Now, for some people, they say, hey, I like to add my little conditioner. It's what I do. Do you, boo? But my suggestion is to go ahead and detangle it thoroughly while it's in its dry state. And then once you finger detangle it, as you see in most of my videos, I encourage highly to finger detangle. Okay, finger detangle, especially with those parts that you see that was matted. After you finger detangle, you want to take your wide tooth comb and you want to go through it with your wide tooth comb just to try to get out as much extra hair as you possibly can. All right, so now as you see, I'm using my handy dandy shampoos and conditioners from Design Essentials, and of course the Roots Fertilizer hot oil treatment that I'm going to use in addition with the again, the conditioner. All right, so you want to make sure when you are going in to wash your hair that your hair is saturated with water. Your hair absolutely needs to be saturated with water before you go in with any products. With this client specifically, you can see every time I take the water to her hair, it seems like that it's like the weight of the water is weighing it down, but you immediately see it puff up. So she has low porosity hair, okay, which means that it is very tough for water to absorb into her hair. So her rinse prior to even adding shampoo is probably like 5 minutes. Like, it takes a while because you want to make sure that the water is getting into the scalp and it's opening up the hair shaft before adding any product. And she has a lot of beautiful thick hair. So her hair is low porosity, meaning it takes a while for products to get and penetrate in there really well, as long as water and products. And they're also susceptible to a lot of buildup because it doesn't necessarily come out as easy, it doesn't dry as easily, which is actually not a bad thing when it comes to moisturizing your hair. That's why you want to use natural products so that you don't have buildup. You want to have products that absorb into the hair as opposed to sit on top of the hair. But for her, in her case, it's a good thing, or low porosity people, it's a good thing because if you find the right products, then your hair will be moisturized for a better extended period of time. Not saying it'll take a week, for you to need to use your products again, but it will take a while for, you won't have to do like every other day as opposed to like every 3 days, say. Okay, so then I'm going in with the first shampoo. It's very important. I feel like in any wash day, unless you're washing your hair like every week and you're not using like edge controls and stuff like that, it's very important to use a cleansing shampoo first. You want to make sure that you cleanse your hair as thoroughly or as well as you possibly can. So you want to use a cleansing shampoo. And today I chose to use the oat protein and henna. The reason I chose to use the oat protein and henna over the peppermint and aloe is because she doesn't have scalp problems. Like, she doesn't have dandruff buildup. The only thing you seen, like when I was detangling those sections, was the buildup from the where the braids started. So yeah, she doesn't really have problems like that with her scalp and itchy scalp and dry scalp and stuff like that. So you want to use a cleansing shampoo as your first wash. You always want to cleanse your hair twice. So you want to use a cleansing shampoo up twice. And then I noticed as I was washing her hair that she had just a little bit of heat damage. It's not major, but you will see it like in the twist. And I told her dad when he came to pick her up, I told him about it. Of course, I told her about it whenever I did her twist, because I show people their hair at the end, and I just wanted her to see, the difference, and just be mindful that it's a part of what could happen when you don't properly use heat. But she has thick hair, so who knows? The hairdresser probably was just like, I'm trying to get it straight. I'm trying to get it straight. The result she wanted. All right, the second wash is going to be with a moisturizing shampoo. So cleansing shampoos tend to strip out the hair, remove the buildup, So in the process of doing that, it also removes the sebum, which is the natural oil that comes from your scalp. So because you want to wash your hair twice with the shampoo, you want to cleanse it twice. You don't want to go in twice with a cleansing shampoo unless you absolutely need to. You want that second shampoo or the last shampoo to be a moisturizing shampoo, because you don't want it to be as stripping as the first one. You still want it to clean, but you don't want it to be as stripping as the first one. And of course, I went in with the almond and avocado, super detangling, long, the whole title. As long as I've used this, I've never figured out the title for her hair. Okay, so I went in and I used that to get another nice clean of her hair strands. And of course, this video is sped up, so her wash session was probably about 20 minutes, I think. Maybe more than that, but about 20 minutes. All right, so you always want to make sure that you get all of the shampoo out each time you rinse the hair, to make sure that it's not, nothing is left back. And sometimes it just takes a while sometimes to make sure that all that shampoo is rinsed out. I'm making sure that their water is clear in every section. She has extremely thick hair, so I'm steady going underneath, opening it up, going side to side to make sure that that water is clear of bubbles. I'm then going to go in with the Roots Fertilizer Hot Oil Treatment, and I like to start on the edges because they are the most delicate part and they are what we can see. So we want to make sure that we're keeping those areas nice and strong and nice and moisturized. So I'll go in with that and I'll massage it into the temples and along the hairline for just a minute or so, just to make sure it's nicely saturated. Then what I like to do is kind of go through and rake it with my fingers along the hairline, rake the oil through so that those strands are also being coated with the oil. Afterwards, I like to go through the scalp and add some oil to the scalp. And then I'll take some in the palm of my hands, rub my hands together so that I can get it over her strands as well. If I'm only doing a hot oil treatment, I will actually like separate the hair and go section by section to add the oil. But if I know that I'm adding conditioner, I will just go through a couple times, adding some oil, go through a couple times to make sure that it's saturated. I always focus on the ends of the hair because they are the oldest and they are the first to break off, not neglecting the rest, but I do. That process was longer than what you seen. I just didn't want it to be too long in the actual video. And so here what I'm doing is I'm using this time I'm actually using the almond and avocado leave-in conditioner. It's a little thicker, which I kind of wanted for her hair, as opposed to the rosemary and mint. I thought it'd be good for her when going under the dryer for it to help to penetrate. And so what I do is when I add it to the section, I still open up her hair because she has really thick hair and I want to make sure that I'm getting this conditioner everywhere. So what you see me doing is using my Curl Protect detangling brush by Eclectic Vibes on Instagram. I'm using that to thoroughly detangle the hair, which is going to help with the next process of not having to do too much detangling before the blow dry. But it's also helping to spread that conditioner all throughout her hair. But not only the conditioner, the oil that I used prior to. So I'm just using that, and I open up the sections and take my time. I'm taking my time. Yes, this is a process, but when you're talking about, care for your natural hair, you want to take your time, especially because you are not able to, yes, you're moisturizing your hair with your braid style in, but you always have a barrier of a fabric. Braiding hair is not hair. The packs cost up to $7. That's not hair. It's a fabric. So it's very drying, which means even when you do put all of those products on, which is why it's important to keep washing your hair and stuff like that, it is penetrating it, but not as much as you would want it to, which is why it's important to take those braids so that you can consistently show care to all of your strands. You know what I'm saying? And without having the barrier of something else being dry, drying it out while it's in your hair. All right, so this is the amount of hair I got from detangling, just using a brush, which is not a lot. And now I'm going to add a plastic cap to her hair and sit her under the dryer for 30 minutes. After sitting under the dryer, I wait just a little while for her hair to cool off just a little bit because I don't want to shock it. And then in those same twists, I just go through, now I don't want to shock it. So I'm using more like lukewarm water. At least that's what it feels like on my hand. I think sometimes it can be colder on the scalp, but I don't want it to be hot on my hands because I don't want it to be hot. I'm wanting to rinse this out, but I'm wanting to seal it in, but I don't want it to seal it in too much, which is why I'm not going freezing cold, if that makes sense. So with the twist still in, I go through and I rinse her hair of the conditioner. And one of the reasons I do this is because I want it to stay as detangled as long as possible. I'm going to have to open it because I'm going to be adding the products before I do the blow dry, but I don't want to necessarily, but when I do that, I don't want to have to add it to each section. So you see me untwisting it, but as I'm untwisting, I'm also making sure that each section is clear of, or the water is clear and it's clear of the conditioner that I just had in her head for her deep conditioning. Okay, so I'm taking the twist out one by one as I see, okay, I'm done with this section. It looks like it's running pretty clear. I'm going to go and untwist the next section. And again, it helps to keep the hair detangled and not like moving around and constantly like opening it up and scrunching the hair and stuff like that. So you want to always do things that's going to help it be easier for you. And yes, that takes time. All right, for her leave-ins, because we are about to do a stretched twist out. I asked her, you want wet or dry? She said, whatever make my hair look the longest. I say, okay. So I'm using the Apple G Keratin and Green Tea Restructurizer. It has strengthening properties in it with the keratin portion of it. And so I like to use that because I'm about to go in with heat on her hair. I use it for all of my clients. I love it. It's a liquid leave-in. There it is. It's a liquid leave-in, and it just works very well. So I use that. I spray it all over, kind of opening up her hair a little bit to make sure I'm getting it in those sections. And I'm using the Silk Infusion by Chi. I really like this. I really like this, but I'm using a good amount because she has a lot of thick hair. Depending on the density of your hair is how much you need to use. And as you see, I'm just kind of going over and patting it, starting at her ends, because I want to make sure that her ends, of course, not neglecting the rest of her hair, but want to make sure that her ends are really getting that product. And of course, I'm going to go in again to make sure that it is evenly distributed when I go into detangle her hair, which is not going to take a long time at all because we detangled it very well with the conditioner. And I'm just looking and observing that heat damage that I was seeing. I was like, okay, let me see how bad it is. But her hair is, oh my goodness, her hair is so beautiful. I mean, it's just ridiculously beautiful. But yeah, and so it's the ends are a little looser. The front is a little looser. And like I was telling her dad, it's not too bad. Her hair still does curl up, but you know. Okay, so now after getting all of that worked in her hair, I'm going to go through and I'm going to work in manageable sections. Most of the time, the sections when somebody's doing your hair may seem bigger, but that's because of body placement, right? So I'm not having to, as a stylist, I'm not having to go back and reach back, behind with my arms up, so it doesn't hurt as much. So you may find yourself having to use smaller sections, but that's okay because we're going to do what we have to do to get the results we want. So I'm just going through and going through manageable sections, and some sections may be smaller or bigger, just depending on the person's hair. But what I'm doing is I'm going back in with my Curl Protect detangling brush, starting with the ends, going to the roots. Again, this is so that the hair is still detangled when I go in for the blow dry, but it's also to distribute that product that I put in her hair to make sure that all of her strands are coated before I actually go in with the direct heat on her hair. Once all sections have been thoroughly detangled and moved out of the way, I go in and I take my blow dryer. And it depends. I'll start with the ends just to dry it out just a little bit. Her hair is so thick. If I was doing this for my own hair, I wouldn't be able to use that big of a section because of how thick the hair is. I would definitely have to break that into 3 or something. But yeah, so I just go in, and you've seen my blowout videos. I have many of them, or I show you in many videos, and I have some that thoroughly explains. But I start with the ends just so I can keep it stretched out as much as possible, and then I go up the shaft. Sometimes I just have it around so that it's not constantly going through and combing through her hair. But I do whatever I have to do to make sure that it's nice and straight. And I love that Silk Infusion because I feel like it gets it much straighter than the Design Essentials. Y'all excuse me, I am super stuffed this morning. I hope I'm y'all not catching all of that. And so the temperature that you use depends on your hair. I normally start with high heat, fast dry, or the high setting for both of them. But if their hair is drying, remember she has low porosity, so it takes a while for it to actually dry. But if the person's hair is drying out a lot faster, then you can get it straighten, with the blow dryer, then you want to go down to medium heat, and then maybe even medium dry. But normally I can keep it on the high power as opposed to the low power, but just turn the actual temperature of the dryer down so that it doesn't dry as quickly. So after I finish blow drying her hair, I just go through on the cool setting and go through all of her hair again, just on the cool setting. Remember, hot opens pores, cold closes pores, the hair pores or the hair shaft. So you always want to make sure you end sealing with a sealant. Everything should be ended with the sealant, okay? So after I get all of that done, and I want to talk a little bit. So two-strand twists, I think, are just like the best. Like whether you're doing wet two-strand twist or you're doing dry two-strand twist. With wet two-strand twist, it's really nice because you're able to finger detangle. So those people that don't really like the detangling process throughout washing their hair, which you should never skip, but for those people who don't like it, wet two-strand twists are really good. For when it comes to like finger detangling your hair, you can really get through it, especially coming out of a protective style. You can really get to your hair. You can really make sure that it's nice and detangled. You don't have any single strand knots. You don't have any sections that you forgot. And you get to, when adding products, you get to make sure that your hair is like thoroughly and fully saturated with those natural products to absorb into your hair. Like, I just love two-strand twist as a resting style so much. Okay, I love it so much. Not only that, the maintenance is very, very easy, but I'll get into that as I'm showing the end of her style. But we're doing stretch, and I love, I have fallen in love with stretch two-strand twist. And the reason I have is because, again, the detangling, having the hair fully detangled, those nice clean parts. Y'all know how I am about parts. I really love parts. You're able to have nice clean parts, and then for this, you're able to get the length, a stretch length that you want. So it's going to be, it's still going to shrink a little bit when we put the products on, but not nearly as much as you would if you were doing a regular two-strand twist, which is what my clients have come to really, really love. And so I've started like using this method actually on a lot of my clients. So I'm just going through and I'm doing my little parts like I always do. Making sure they're clean, going apart, making sure they're nice and clean together. And I'm just going to be twisting it. So right now I'm just sectioning it off, but I'm just going to go through a two-strand twist. So I'm going to let you watch, and then I'm going to come back when it comes to the end. As you see, I am just twisting her hair all the way to the ends. I am not, absolutely not worried about the ends right now. Sometimes clients, she don't ever pay attention. Kids, they just, they be into what they into. But sometimes they be looking like, ooh, is the ends going to be like this? We're like, can I take a bath through the break? It's like, yes, I know you're finna go look at your hair. But the ends will not be straight like this, and the twist will not look like this once we go to add the actual product. But look how stretched it is. So it's her hair blowing out. So first I'm going to go in with the Roots natural hair braids, twists, and locks moisture mist as my water. Then I'm going to follow with the Wrap and Shine Nairobi foam, which I absolutely love. You can use as much or as little without it being crunchy or anything. Then I'm going to use the Root Sealant Natural Hair Oil. It's a little bit thicker than the Protective Style Oil. The Protective Style Oil is what I use mostly to end, or what I use to end my braid styles, because it's nice and thin and it doesn't weigh the hair down. But for this, it is cold outside in San Diego right now. It's just the winter season. And I want to make sure that her hair, I always make sure that my clients end very, very moisturized, so that they don't have to go in until like 2 or 3 days after they've come for their appointment. They don't have to start their moisture routine until then. But for her scalp, I did go in and use the I actually think I used the nut-free oil on her hair, just because I had a lot in that bottle and I was trying to get rid of it. But the nut-free and the Protective Style oil and Protective Style Enhanced are the same consistency. The difference between the nut-free and the Protective Style, or the regular Enhanced and then the nut-free, is simply that one is derived from nuts and the other one isn't. So I had a client who was allergic to nuts, and so just to be on the safe side, I was like, yeah, let me make you oil. And so as you can see, even with the twists that are already done, her ends are already curling up, but she still has that length. So I'm first going in with the Roots Moisture Mist, and I'm spraying all around to make sure her hair is a little wet, and it's a very fine mist, which means you're going to have to spray a little bit. Then I go in on those ends to make sure her ends has some water as well, using my hands to feel to make sure that it's wet to touch. And then I'm going in with that's the Enhanced. The other one is a little lighter. So yeah, you can use either one depending on your needs. And I'm just going through and making sure that her scalp is nice and moisturized with that. Then I'm taking the Robyn and I'm going through all of her twists. Again, you can use as much or as little as needed, and it will never leave your hair crunchy. It will never leave your hair feeling weighed down. I love the Robyn wrapping foam. Wrapping foam. So I'm just using it as much as I need to. Again, the amount of products that you need to use and what type of products thoroughly depends on the person's hair. Okay, so her hair is low porosity, so it takes a while for things to penetrate. And so after I do that, I'm gonna go through with the roots sealant, and I'm just going through all of her twists. So you can see I started from the top and went to the bottom, just to make sure that her hair, her actual strands, because yes, the ends are the oldest parts of the hair and the first to break, but that doesn't mean that the middle of your hair won't break. That doesn't mean that the top of your hair won't break, and then you lose all of that length, which you don't want to do. All right, and so then I'm like, okay, she doesn't have enough on the ends, so let me go back and put some more on the ends. And I'm just steady going through her hair to make sure that it's nice. All of it is nice and saturated. You want to make sure that you do what you have to do to get the results that you want. Don't be cheap. Treat your hair how you want it to treat you. You show love to your hair is going to show love to you. Point blank, period. And I just continue to repeat the process until I feel that her hair is moisturized enough to get her started and, you know, get her on the right track. And again, all of her hair and not just her ends. And she wanted the middle part, so once I got to the front, normally I would just keep doing like windows, but when I got to the front, because she wanted the middle part, I just adjusted how I was parting her hair and just, you know, started parting so that they fall so that she can have her middle part. Okay, and so I'm going to make sure she has her strands saturated. She's going to have a couple that is a little straighter, but it's fine. In due time, it'll start to, you know, shrivel back up like the rest of the hair. And then I didn't show it on here, but I did put her under the dryer so that she didn't have to walk out with her hair, her scalp dry, because it is cold, and y'all know how we do it, especially in the South. Ain't nobody trying to get sick. You heard me? All right, so these are the end results of her twists, which are absolutely beautiful. Oh my gosh. Oh, real quick, so the maintenance part of that, you don't have to use the Robyn, just the Roots Moisture Mist and then the sealant for the ends. But look at that. Those parts are nice and clean. Her hair is like super detangled. She does a really good job with leaving her two-strand twist in for the 4 weeks at a time. She doesn't necessarily have scalp problems like that, so she doesn't need to wash her hair in her two-strand twist, but she does make sure that she moisturizes it. When you do moisturize it, you always want to start from the ends, but don't forget and don't neglect just working your way up to the roots of your hair. But you want to do that especially because she got it stretched and her hair is going to be rubbing against her shirt, which is outside elements that could cause breakage. So making sure to pay attention to that is going to be wonderful. I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you are not already a subscriber. For those of you who are returning, thank you so much for returning. I really appreciate you all, and I hope that you enjoy this and other videos that I have to come. Peace and blessings.